Almost everyone you meet today is carrying something that is either stress, expectations, responsibilities, parenting problems, relationship problems, money problems. It all relates to life. And all of those things put pressure on you to be able to live your life, but somehow try to keep it all together. The wild part is that most people don't talk to anybody about it. That's what this week's podcast is about. Welcome back to the Brood for Life podcast. Now let's get into it. It's funny, that this is what my topic is for the week because life always throws curveballs and there's always unexpected speed bumps and unexpected challenges that hit every single one of us on, I don't want to say a daily basis, weekly, monthly, like there's always something that changes the course of how our day, week, month, whatever goes. And sometimes it's foreseen, but it happens at a time when you didn't expect it to happen. Sometimes it's something that's been building for weeks and then it finally comes to the point where like now we have to deal with it. Those are all parts of our lives that no matter how much our parents and our school systems can teach us, can tell us, can try to make us relate to, you're never really 100% ready for it when it happens. And that's one of the most wildest things about life is that nobody can prepare you to deal with all of those things, to deal with the expectations from work, from life, from your spouse, from your kids. Nobody can tell you how to deal with the stress of doing all that. Nobody knows what your responsibilities are because we all don't walk in the same pair of shoes. And none of us carry the pressure of all of those things the same. So, just like parenting, there really is no guidebook for any of this. But what there is there are plenty of us that can kind of relate to one or two or, some attribute of what the heck we have going on a regular basis. The thing is why don't we ever pick up the phone and talk to somebody about what it is that we're carrying? Why do we always feel like we have to carry this stuff alone? Why do we feel like we're always on an island by ourselves? When there's therapy, there's our spouses, there's our significant others, there's the people that we label our close friends, but they're not close enough for us to be real with them about what the heck we're dealing with. When you stand back and you look at it, right, from those aspects, and you look at how you handle your friends when they're in those situations, we always seem to be the greatest source of information, and we always feel like we know how to fix somebody else's problem. But at the same time, we're still wearing the same hat that they are, and we're still dealing with the same struggles that they are. So what makes us an expert when we can't figure ourselves out? It's human nature, I guess, to an extent. We all have these pressures of life that we all have to deal with on a regular basis, right? Like we all have a rent or a mortgage. We all have utility bills to pay. We all have cars to pay for in some way. It might be a loan and car insurance and then the regular upkeep on it. You might not have a loan, but you still have the other two. All of those things are responsibilities that come with being an adult and having to act responsibly as an adult. But they bring a lot of stress and a lot of pressure for those of us that may or may not make enough money to, live a carefree life. And to be fair, with the way that the society is right now, it tends to be a little bit expensive and things are on the rise here and there. And our pay for the jobs we do doesn't always necessarily increase at the same rate, which then brings more stress and more pressure on us. If I had to list some of the top pressures that people feel on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, I would say absolutely the first thing would be financially stable. The second would be, are you doing everything you can to be successful within your career? And the pressures that come from your job in order for you to be looked at as being successful. The third thing I think would be relationships. They're never easy. They're always a work in progress. The key is to have the right partner to be able to make those relationships be successful. You have to have somebody that's understanding and not somebody that is more worried about themselves and the things you do to make them feel good. They need to be a 50-50 partner. And the reality of relationships, which I have mentioned before, is that no single partner in that relationship is giving 100% on any given day. And if they say they are, they're fucking lying, because all of us wake up tired, exhausted, or whatever on any given day, where we have a lot on our plate for that day, which means we can't focus 100% into that relationship. So on those times, you really need your partner to fill the void so that your relationship gets 100% attention and all the things within your relationship get 100% attention. But it's never going to be the same partner that contributes the exactly same percentage every single day. It's always going to change. So let's get back to some of those pressures, right? So then you have the pressure from doctors and society to be able to stay healthy. And you want to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, I've got this. I'm doing this. Like, I'm winning. And we put pressure on ourselves in order to be successful in all of those things. And it often feels like you're supposed to succeed in every area of life all at the same time. But we can't do that. It's not possible. You can't focus all of your attention and energy in one of those things and expect the same amount of attention and energy to be balanced, because you only have so much time and you only have so much energy to apply to any certain one of those things. Life isn't just about one responsibility anymore. It's not. It's about how many balls can you juggle at once and how well can you manage juggling them. That's where all those pressures come into play. You don't have to be highly successful in any one of those on any given day. But what you do need to be able to do is manage them and manage them to your best of your ability. Some days you're going to take a step back on one of those. Other days you're going to stay even. Other days you might take some steps forward. But the goal is to be even or forward on any given day, week, month, whatever your goal is. With that said, how do we deal with all of this? What are the pressures that we don't talk about, right? Because everybody talks about the relationship at some, given time, or complains about what the hell's going on with work. But what don't we talk about? We don't talk about the financial stress enough. Being able to pay your bills, how much is coming in, how much is going out, what can we afford to do, what can't we afford to do? People don't talk enough about that. And to be fair, we don't prepare ourselves well enough in our early years to set ourselves up to be successful in our later years. And I don't mean a huge window, right? So I think it's a fair point that all of us around a 20-year-old mark spent a lot of time, at least in my age group, going to clubs, partying, and doing all of those things, right? And if I look back at that time now, I would wish that I had done it differently. I enjoyed the times, like, it was some of the most carefree time of my life. But if I had just not gone out every weekend and spent $300 on, going out to the bars and the clubs and all those things, where would I be in my life right now? Would I be more financially secure right now if I had made better decisions? If I had somebody that just said to me, "What the fuck are you doing? You got to be better than this. You'll thank me later on in life." And I don't think enough of us have those voices because we're so wrapped up in the moment in our early 20s. One of the other pressures is parenting pressure. Because, like I said, there's no book that tells you how to be the perfect parent. All of us have different personalities. Our kids have different personalities. There's no right way and one single course way in order to be a parent. But as a parent, you feel the pressure of making sure that your kid is raised in a way where they're polite, they're respectful, that it's not your kid that all the other parents are looking at going, "What the fuck's wrong with your kid? Your kid's a little asshole." And they're talking about your kid behind your back, which you'll never hear about. But again, like we all try our best. Let me rephrase that. Most of us try our best to make sure that our kid is polite and respectful. I think that there is always going to be that segment of children that are little assholes. And I don't necessarily blame the parents all the time for that. I think that sometimes it's just a kid's personality, and sometimes parents have tried everything in order to get it in line, but the kid's just tough. And maybe the parents aren't those kind of people that are capable of being tough. They're just as an individual, they're just, a little bit softer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just who they are as a person, but it takes a firm fist sometimes to crack those, and sometimes they're just not those people. And we gotta take that for what it's worth. Like, I think we all have met parents that we looked at him and said, "Wow, like, you really don't care about what your kid's doing, and because of it, your kid's becoming a little shit." Those people do exist. I think we need to make sure that before we start labeling it being the parent's fault, that we have a little bit more understanding of who the parent is and the struggles that they may be dealing with as well. One of the other challenges that people carry but don't ever talk enough about is being mentally exhausted. A lot of there's a lot of talk now about depression and anxiety and all of those things, and I've mentioned them before. um I do believe that that anxiety is a thing, right? But I also believe that anxiety is comes from fear. And there are always going to be people that are really like they're really uncomfortable and really scared in certain settings, right? So that's that's perfectly fine, but um you can't use fear as a reason for not doing something. Growth comes from challenging yourself and pushing yourself through those uncomfortable moments. So it's worth trying. You find that like pushing yourself past those limits really creates a negative environment for yourself, then back it off a little bit. But you got to try. Really, growth comes from pushing yourself outside of your boundaries. With that said, right? So most people don't talk about any of those things because they assume that everyone else is handling it better. But again, the reality is that everybody struggles with something. Everybody's dealing with the same things. And although they may not talk to you openly about it, doesn't mean that they're not dealing with it. So why do people make the decision to not have a conversation with either their spouse, their friends, a therapist, or some kind of other professional to be able to get resolution to what those things are? One might be fear of judgment. In a world that we live in, yeah, there's a lot of chatter, a lot of gossip, a lot of that stuff that goes on. So maybe they're afraid of putting their stuff out there because they're worried everybody's going to look at them differently. Could be accurate. I mean, it's definitely something that happens. How about not wanting to burden others with their problem? Also could be true. But if you're going to them, there's got to be a reason why you're picking that individual to be the person that you're going to talk to. Chances are that you either know that they've struggled with the same thing, or they have something that might be able to help you navigate whatever that struggle, pressure, stress, whatever that is. How about believing that an individual should handle it on their own? Also true, but we can't preach in society that it's better to work in a team than it is to be on your own, right? There's strength in numbers. Dude, I don't think I need to keep going with all of the metaphors that get put out there about how working in teams is better. Some things might be better off handling alone. But I think if you can find that person, having two minds tackling the same problem and looking at it from different angles is better than one. Sometimes one person that one mind won't allow you to stray the path to maybe see something that helps fix that problem. And the last one would be think that you're the only one dealing with that. You're not. Regardless of what it is, you're not. Everybody at some point has some kind of a financial struggle. Nobody has a perfect relationship. There's always bumps in the road at some point. Everybody feels like they want to be successful in their job and the challenges that comes from management and whatever else. There's all similarities in different fields. So we all have something to share. Doesn't make us weak to talk about it. It makes us actually open to growth, open to change, and gives us the ability to change that course, not just for ourselves, but for those that might be seeking that help from us. So, outside of having those conversations, what can we do to help relieve the stress, to at least not put so much of a burden on our bodies? Mine, as you guys know, I get up every single morning and I get some kind of a workout in. Doesn't matter if I'm sick, tired, grumpy, a lot on my mind, hungover, none of those things matter. I still get up and do it. It is the focal point of how I start my morning. It is the thing that I do that helps set the course of my day. It's perfect for me. Might not be perfect for everybody. It takes some dedication, it takes drive, it takes pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get your workout done. But it's not the only avenue, right? So there's plenty of other things. Other hobbies, like there's obviously plenty of sports, there's crafts, there's all kinds of different avenues that you could do. Go for a hike, work on a puzzle, a million things you could do. My other is obviously I like to brew beer. Both of those things just give me time to disconnect my mind, just focus on the task at hand, and not have to carry the pressure and the stress, whatever those challenges are. It gives me a time to disassociate, replant my roots, and start focusing on something else just for a little while. Sometimes when you come back to it, you end up with a clear head, and that clear head helps you see the other things. From a guy's perspective, and I think most men can agree that, like, somebody in their family has always spent a lot of time in the garage. I spend a lot of time in my garage. Where I record my podcasts, it's where I brew, it's where I work out every single morning. But when there's just two guys sitting out there having a beer, just talking about bullshit, after a few beers, some real honest, genuine conversation will come out of that. And at that point, you'll see that sometimes that's all it takes. It's an opportunity to let your guard down and be open just for a second. To have somebody understand what it's like to walk in your shoes on any given day. That doesn't have to just be a guy thing, like ladies, like call your friend and say, "Hey, let's go shopping. Let's go get our nails done. Let's go get a glass of wine. Let's go grab lunch. Let's go grab a cup of coffee." Any of those things. And just give yourself some time to test out the waters and see how receptive you think this person would be at that moment, and talk to them about it. You don't have to unload it all, but put your toe in the water and see if there's an opportunity for you to kind of bounce some of your challenges off somebody else, and maybe they could bring some clarity to whatever those pressures are. 100% helpful. As far as like your career stuff, the best thing you could do is try to give yourself 100% effort every single day. Try to stay focused. Try to carry the tasks on hand. And guess what? If your plate is fully loaded, don't be afraid to ask for help, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make you incapable. It doesn't make you unsuccessful. It means that you have whatever the task is and the deadline for that task. You have that in mind. So you're trying to find the best way to achieve that, have the best result, and have the best product at the end of that. Keep that in mind. It doesn't always have to be you. So why does it matter that we talk about all of those things to a friend, family member, a spouse, significant other, therapist? Why does it matter? For one, been in therapy and I've sat there and sometimes I walked out of there with tears rolling down my face. But by time I got to the car, sometimes it's so weird that just talking about stuff, you can literally feel the burden come off of your shoulders. You can start to see some clarity and feel a different way about the same pressure, the same struggle as you did when you went in there. It'll help build a stronger relationship. If your person that you're talking to is your significant other, your wife, your husband, best friend, family member, nothing allows that door to be opened up to have a real, true, genuine relationship with that individual other than letting them know that you trust them when you're feeling at your lowest moment, or when you're feeling like the weight of the world is just too much, that you're the person that they came to. It builds a lot of character within a relationship, and it builds a lot of trust, because if that person can just have that conversation with you and not share it with everybody else, that shows a lot of character with that person. And maybe it'll show you that that person was way more trustworthy than you thought they were, and you'll wish that you had done it sooner. It also helps people realize that they're not alone, because when you have these conversations, more times than not, you'll probably get some feedback and they'll be like, yeah, I've been down that road and it wasn't easy, but this is what I did. Not saying it'll work for you, but this is how I found my way out. Everybody needs a place where they can go and be honest. Take down those barriers and just talk openly and honestly about what is going on. Doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you soft. What it does is it'll help you learn how to grow. It'll help you rebuild the trust and show value in the people that you find to be the most important, people that you hold the most dearly to your heart. In closing, I want to say this. Everybody is always carrying something. The difference between drowning in it and managing it often comes down to the connection, the conversation, and knowing that you have a place where you can just be real. You can just be you. Because it's exhausting having walls up all the time. It's exhausting carrying those burdens on your own. It's exhausting trying to find answers to all of those stresses. So do the right thing. There's somebody that you know or you feel like is struggling and has some of those pressures, some of those stressors. Pick up the phone and call them. Check in on them. Put your toe in the water and see if you get any kind of kickback. See if they're willing to open up. See if they start sharing a little bit. You never know. You may have just helped somebody and you may have just changed somebody's outcome just by showing you care. With that said, thank you guys so much for listening this week. As always, check out all the social media pages, Baines Brewing, Brewed for Life podcast, the Dad Son Community, Brewed for Life on TikTok. Please check them out, like, follow, do all the things. I appreciate all the support, and I hope you guys have a great week.